Amen. So, we're looking at the Millerite line, and hopefully we're beginning to become comfortable that that line stretches to a history past 1844, certainly into 1850, and I'm suggesting into 1863. The reason I'm suggesting 1863 is because of the 2520 that then becomes a key to unlock that date. We've discussed the sequence of Hiram Edson's work. He becomes an important person on the 23rd of October 1844 when he has a vision about the sanctuary, and then a few years later he has another significant role connected to essentially the same prophecy, the same chapter, Daniel chapter 8, where he begins to re-examine the 2520 and develops his second line, which he claims should always have been the original line, which is 723 BC, 538, 1798. And it's the line that we draw on quite often nowadays because of that chiastic structure. Everybody okay with that? He does that work in 1856, but he doesn't complete the work. He does a series of articles on the 7 times of the Gentiles, but for some reason the work doesn't get finished. We don't know why, but what would a suggestion be of why he doesn't complete that work?
Rejection.
Sorry?
Rejection.
There was some kind of rejection, even though it's not overtly obvious. And what have we also marked in 1850? Besides the loud cry. The church goes into Laodicea, so it begins to fall asleep and lose direction. So I just want to read a little bit from what he says. So I'm going to have to pull it up again, I don't have it. This is from the Advent Review and Sabbath Herald. Give me a second to find the reference. So it's January the 3rd, 1856, JWE, ASR 105.6. January the 3rd, 1856, and it's Advent Review and Sabbath Herald, page 105, paragraph 6. Just want to read some comments from here. So I'm trying to relocate it now. It takes. Has everybody found it? Okay, I've got it now. So, just going to read the introductory part of it. The following article was received from Brother Edson sometime since. What does sometime since mean? Sometime before. So he's been holding on to it. He hasn't dealt with it promptly. But we have not yet had time to examine it thoroughly. Many of the ideas presented are new, and we think it proper to publish them for the consideration of the brethren, letting the writer remain responsible for the views presented, as he proposes in the following lines to Brother White, which accompanied the article. So, this is an introductory thought from James White, and James White says he wants higher medicine to be responsible for this article. It's not got anything to do with White, and whatever Edson says, he should be responsible for that. So I'm reading that as that he's distancing himself from that. Appreciate he says that Edson is taking responsibility for what he's doing. I want to read what Edson says. This is not the article about the 7 times. This is just some introductory thoughts. Dear Brother White, as I have been informed that the inquiry has arisen why I have remained so long silent, I would just say that I have been necessarily employed in manual labour, providing for my family, and have not but little time either to read or write. And worn with excessive toil, I have felt but little disposition or spirit of writing, and hence am poorly prepared to write anything that would be of service to the church. But what little sympathy and zeal I have had in exercise for the cause of truth has been with the review, and those who have borne the heat and burden of the day, in advancing the truth it advocates. So why has he not written anything? What's his excuse? He's been held up by his work. Did you mention the pen? Can we swap? Can we swap pens, please? What would we call? What's he doing? Cares of this life? Yeah. Not trying to say he's doing something evil or whatever, but he's lost direction, he's lost focus on the mission that he's supposed to be doing. They know it's 1850, they know that they're supposed to be preaching the third angel's message. Ellen White's had visions on it, they've had meetings on it, and what's he more worried about? Taking care of his family. Now, I'm not putting any moral stance on that, saying he was wrong to do that. Everyone has to take care of their family. We have all cares and responsibilities. But I'm reading into that at prophetic level that he's gone into Laodicea. He's more interested about the things of this earth than he is about the things of heaven. They're already in the binding off, whether or not they realise that. The loud cry has already begun. 6 years later, He's saying, I've been silent for a long time because I was more worried about taking care of my family than I was about doing the work of God. So this shows also a level of disorganisation, depending on what his position or role is in the movement. If he's such a major person, perhaps he should have been receiving support. I'm not trying to make any judgment on that. All I'm trying to say is that he's been silent for a long time and now he begins to do this work. As you recently requested me to write out for the review some of the prominent leading points of my long, unmatured article, such as the evidences of the beginning and ending of the 7 prophetic times, or 20 years, Leviticus 26, etc. And as I have not time at present to mature the subject, I send you a portion of the broken, unmatured ideas as they are. What's that teaching us? It's not completing, but what else is it showing us? He's writing a letter to James White, and what is he telling? What are we picking up at the beginning part of that paragraph? Sorry? It's not complete. Something else. My brother?
Yeah, the articles that he gave, cities unmatured. The reason of that is...
So we've got unmatured. There's something else. Brother Wilson? My brother?
I would say the article that is writing is saying that it's not devolved.
Sorry, it's not
Devolved.
okay. So everyone's saying that everyone's picking up the lack of development, but there's one more point.
Broken.
Sorry?
Broken.
Broken. What does broken mean? I'm going to suggest it means undeveloped.
Lack of publishing.
Sorry?
Publishing.
Okay, so let me ask the same question. Oh,
I think it's been unmatured for quite some time.
so it's been unmature sometime. Let me reframe my question. Why is he writing this article?
So, we want to identify the beginning and the ending of the Bible biblical message.
Okay? He says something else. Brother William? Unless I'm reading it wrong. Sister Emma? He's been requested to write it. Someone's told him to write out the articles. And who told him? James White. So James White has instructed him to write out these articles. So what's that telling you? If James White says, write out your study on the 2520, what do we know that's already happened?
There is something good about the 2520.
So you know that they've already had some dialogue on this. I wouldn't tell you, oh, I want you to write an article on the 2520, unless I knew what? Unless I knew you'd been studying it, unless you told me about it. You showed me something, I said, oh, that looks good. What I want you to do is write it out. Write out your matured thoughts. And he says, I've been lazy. It's been a long time since I've not done what you told me to or asked me to. So I thought I'd better write something now instead of waiting till the article or my thoughts are matured, because he doesn't know when that's going to happen. Can we get all that from that first couple of sentences? As you recently requested me to write out for the review some of the prominent leading points of my long, unmatured article. So he's written this article when? This is a long time ago. Not only have they been talking about it, he's written this document not recently, it's been there for a long time. And what James White wanted him to do was to finalise this article write out some of the prominent points, so maybe have a short article which was bullet pointed, and he hasn't done any of that. Some of the prominent leading points of my long unmatured article, such as the evidences of the beginning and ending of the 7 prophetic times. So James White already knows what? What does James White already know? The beginning and the ending. And what is the beginning and the ending? 723, 1798. So James White already knows all of this, and James White wants him to publish this. And as I have not time at present to mature the subject, I send you a portion of the broken, unmatured ideas as they are. I do not ask that they now go out as adopted or sanctioned by the review, but merely for the examination and inspection of the brethren. And if the subject by them be judged to be of service to the church and worthy of further investigation, then it may hereafter be revised, improved, and carried out in its further bearing and extent. So, what can we read into that? He's saying, I'll take responsibility for what I'm publishing at the moment, so that the review, who is the review? That's James White, basically. It's a code name for James White. He's really the one who's running this. So they don't have to take responsibility. I'll take all the responsibility, and then what? Sorry?
If it's stronger by each other and it's of service, I'll develop it in some time later.
So if the church likes this study, I'll develop it. He doesn't develop it. What's that telling you? The church has rejected this message. That's what I want us to see. However the human interplay works, however it worked in real life, I don't say there was a committee who threw this study away, but the church has no interest in this thing, and so he doesn't develop it. James White doesn't give him the support and the backing that he should need, because this magazine is the premier means of distributing information. It's like, I don't know, the FFA website or something like that. You know, it's the clearinghouse for everything. And they're not supporting him. He doesn't expect them to support him, which I find strange, because they've already studied this together. James White sees something in this, but he doesn't follow through with it. And he says, if people like it, I will develop it. And you see nothing from that. So that's all I want to pick up from there. I want to read one more thing. This is a year later. This is a year later, in February 28. So, no, not a year later, a month later, sorry. A month later, February 28, 1856. And this is page 176, paragraph 40. So all the same coding, but it's February 28, and it's 176.40, paragraph 40. This is Otis Nichols. Otis Nichols is just writing a very small statement, so you don't have to look for it, because by the time I've read it, you might not have found it. We forward you the article and extract to Hiram Edson, and we would say to anyone who has any strictures to offer on this article, the time of the Gentiles, etc., that they will address him at Martville, New York, as the only conditions on which we publish said article is that he alone will be responsible for the sentiments advanced. So I'm going to read that again. Then, my brother, you tell me what Otis Nichols is saying. We forward you the article and extract to Hiram Edson, and we would say to anyone who has any strictures to offer on this article, the time of the Gentiles, that they will address him at Martville, New York, as the only conditions on which we published said article is that he alone shall be responsible for the sentiments advanced. So, someone find out what strictures mean. Someone find out what strictures mean. While someone's doing that, my brother's going to tell us what is Otis Nichols saying.
He's saying that these ideas of the temporal fellowship, it is for Hiram Edson alone. So the church may not be responsible because they don't believe it. Well, say the sentiments, it is for Hiram Edson. So whatever it is, they are not to be responsible, but it is alone. So they don't believe it as it is light. To them, it's like this is not what the church may need. So it is for him alone.
Strictures? Sorry?
Severe criticism.
Severe criticism. So let's put that into it. We forward you the article in an extract to Hiram Edson, and we would say to anyone who has any criticism to offer on his article, any critique, that they should address him, as the only conditions on which we publish said article is that he alone shall be responsible for the sentiments advanced. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
This is page 176, paragraph 4. So first we picked up James White. Just pass the pen. And now we've picked up Otis Nichols. And Otis Nichols is even stronger. He's saying the only condition on which we publish that article is that we would take no responsibility for what that was in that article. And what's happening now? It's been a month, and what is happening? Brother Robert, what's happening? What's been going on during this 1 month that you can pick up from his statement? Brother Rogers? Okay, you haven't read it as well. My brother? You can't find it? Did you find the original one? Okay. It's not that easy to find.
What I can pick from this is that his fellow brethren, like Nick, the brethren for Hiram Edson, they knew of this truth, but I'm sure they examined it because of some pressure they want to publish, but it actually shows that they are rejecting it.
Okay, so we've got that bit, but there's something else we can pick up that's going on, some dynamic. Sister Emma?
What did he say?
He just said that they're burying it.
That someone responded to it.
Okay, so can we see that? People are making a response to his article. People are writing in and responding to his article. And who are they writing into? They're writing into the review. And the reviewer saying what? We've got nothing to do with that. Stop bothering us. If you want any information, you write directly to him. Because we only publish this on one condition, that we would not be party to what he's teaching. I mean, what kind of an open rebuke is that, if you think about it? How bad must that be? It's like someone in the movement today coming up with some theory, and you go to, say I said something, and you go to Elder Jeff and you say, so what do you think about what Parminder's teaching? And he'd say, nothing to do with me. You ask him, he's on his own. No support. So I found that article, that little statement by O.T. Nichols, quite interesting. Just the severity of the situation that's going on. Now, if you were living then, maybe you wouldn't see it that way. Maybe you weren't aware of what's going on. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. I don't know. I don't think I am. I'm basing it upon a prophetic perspective of what's going on in that history. Without that, these wouldn't really mean anything. Maybe they don't like higher medicine. Maybe he's an awkward person. I have no idea about his character. Maybe he's pushy, he's trying to make a name for himself. Who knows what's going on? So I don't know anything of that background, but I'm just saying from a prophetic level, it seems to me that because they're Laodicea, they're burying this information, and I'm suggesting that you need this second understanding of the 2520 to do what? What do you need it for? To understand 1863, because it's this second witness that helps you to create a chiastic structure. You get 46 and 19. Without that, you can't do it. Now, I just want to introduce another thought. This is not part of the subject that we're addressing, but I want to talk about it. William Miller has a 2520. We're all familiar with that? If you were to ask Dempsey, everybody familiar with Dempsey? If he were to talk about the 2520, Dempsey, and he was going to give an overview or a critique of the Millerite understanding of the 2520, what phrase would Dempsey use to explain the 2520? How would he go back to the Millerite line, condense all of their thoughts and ideas of what the 2520 was into a simple little phrase? What would he say? Anybody got? Put your hand up if you have a thought. Repeat the question. The backbone, the overarching theme of the Millerite message is the 2520. We know that their focus is the 2300 days, which brings you to October 22nd, 1844. I appreciate that. But it's all based upon this concept of the 2520. So Dempsey, when he reviews the 2520, he has a really nice way of expressing the Millerite thinking of the 2520, the concept of what it is. So I'm asking us, how would we express what the 2520 is in the way that Dempsey expressed it, which I think is a really nice way of understanding the Millerite mindset of the 2520, what it really is, what it's about, the essence of it. So it's a really sort of broad question, but the answer is really simple. Don't think I'm looking for some really complex super answer. It's a really basic, simple answer. Who wants to have a go? Please put your hand up, because I don't want to have like 6 no's, and then, because if it's just no for everybody, then I'll just tell you what I think. But I'm thinking someone must have an idea. Repeat the question. Oh, not again. It's a long question. Give me the theme of what the 2520 is about, the essence of it. Scattering and gathering, but Dempsey doesn't use that phraseology. We focus on the scattering and gathering. He uses a different phraseology.
Time of Gentile.
Sorry?
Time of Gentile.
No. Sister Emma?
Two desolating powers?
It's two desolating powers. That's I think he even uses the word the motif. What is a motif? It's like a banner, a label. So I want to say that the motif of the Millerite message was two desolating powers. Are we okay with that? I don't think that's anything new. So that's what I say, maybe my question wasn't good. Now, if you go to Hiram Edson's work, we haven't read it, but I think we all have some kind of working understanding. Can you see that motif? Two desolating powers. Yeah? In fact, the reason why he says his 2520 is the right one and everything else isn't done properly is because he defines two desolating powers in the nicest, cleanest way, doesn't he? It begins in 723 with the king of the north. It ends in 538, exactly 3.5 times later. Then you get the second desolating power, which is clearly seen in scriptures. It's easy to see. The prophecy comes up 7 times, the 1260, 3.5 times, 42 months, times, and dividing the time. All of that comes up so often, it's absolutely clear that that desolating power is the papacy, and that's why he defines his 2520 in that way. And he says, this is the way we should have explained it from the very beginning. Was he right or wrong? I mean, he's obviously wrong, because the Millerite message is the first angel's message, and the first angel's message takes you to where? Which date? It takes you to 1844. The hour of judgment is come. What do you call that? Present something? Present continuous. Revelation 14 verse 7. The hour of judgment is come, present continuous. So for Miller to have targeted 1798, how could he have done that? It would not have been in agreement with what message? First angel's message. First angel's message has to take you to 1844. Therefore Miller has to have a 2520 that takes you to 1844. So Hiram Edson is incorrect in that thinking. What Hiram Edson is saying is, let's look at the problem in a different way and explain it. What Hiram Edson doesn't do is explain William Miller's thinking, and to show you why William Miller's thinking needs to be adjusted, because William Miller has got some wrong concepts about the 2520. So we just want to explore a little bit about that. Is everybody okay with what I've said so far? Yeah? 2520, two desolating powers. The person who does it properly is who? Edson. Edson does it properly. I'm suggesting Miller doesn't do it properly. We're going to explore why. So Hiram says, I know what I'm teaching is correct because I've got prophetic structure, prophetic license to do that. And what's his prophetic structure? Two desolating powers. William Miller used that. His prophetic structure is 3.5 times. He knows there's a 3.5 times, 538 to 1798. And then you can show there's another 3.5 times. So you have this perfect chiasm. That's the structure that he's developing. I don't know if he even uses the word chiasm or even sees it that way. And therefore he says this is the proper way of doing it. But if they had done that, if Miller had done that, it would have had a lot of problems. Because Daniel 8:14, the sanctuary message, has inbuilt into it, into Daniel 8:13, the 2520 and the 2300 days. I don't think the Millerites had any understanding of how we would approach Daniel 8:14. Perhaps even in the movement, some of us haven't really gone thoroughly through Daniel 8 and to see how we pull out the 25:20 whilst maintaining the integrity of the 2300 days. Okay, so let's go to William Miller's 25:20. We're all familiar with it, at least to a certain degree. So my brother, you tell me everything you know about William Miller's 25:20.
Miller's 25:20 was basing upon the northern tribe of Israel, and it begins its line from 7:23. But before that one, it lines also the year 742.
But let me stop you there. I'm talking about Miller. So you mentioned about the northern tribes. So if you're happy with that, carry on. So you say 742, 723.
Then 1844.
Sorry?
1798. So that's basically the line it was focusing on.
Okay?
Yeah.
My brother at the back.
No, I think you done it.
So you want to say 677 began?
Those who died 457.
You have 457? What's 457 got to do with 2520?
What I can recall is that he was comparing the Sarah.
Say that again? Oh, yeah, so that's 2300 days. Is he saying the 2300 days is a 2520?
No. It's like this, then him.
Okay, so I'm not asking about the three commencement dates, 677, 457, 508. We understand that he has those three commencement dates. He talks about them. I just want to focus on the 2520. So the 2520, he says 677 to 1844. Is that it? Yep. My brother?
I will go with the model book of 677.
Okay, anything else? Can't hear? No?
Yeah, I'm going with this one, 677 to 1844, and what I can add there is that he was basing his argument on 2 Chronicles 33.
2 Chronicles 33. Second Chronicles 33 says what?
He's talking about the captivity of Manasseh. 1 to
verse 1 to verse 11.
So verse 1 to 11. So we'll just pick up verse 11, 33:11. Wherefore the Lord brought upon them the captains of the host of the king of Assyria, which took Manasseh among the thorns, and bound him with fetters, and carried him to Babylon. And then verse 12 and onwards goes on to talk about his repentance. So you want to put 2 Chronicles 33:11. Anything else? Okay, so you've given us a Bible verse to show us some logic why we would begin there. Are you okay with this structure?
Yeah.
Yeah? My brother?
I think according to me, right, it started 25:20, it's in 5:20 for the free, and later there's going to be a correction.
Say that again? 1843? Okay, so we've put 1844. We know there's an 1843 there. So we understand about that. That's the 43 and 50 chart. I'll put that there, but I don't think that's a huge problem. That's just the way they calculate and don't appreciate the full year issue. So I'll put that there, but I don't think that's a major issue. Anything else you want to say to that, my brother? Anything else? My brother?
Yeah, I also
I can't hear you.
I am also supporting this one.
Okay, so you support that. You want to add anything? Or I'm looking to see if there's any more we can add.
This Camilla focused on the Southern Kingdom. He assumed the 25 only affected the Southern Kingdom, and he never applied it to the Northern tribes, the Northern Kingdom.
Okay, so when you say south only, why did he say that?
No doubt a good reason why we focus on the Southern only. But I think in his assumption, which I'm not sure, was that the Southern Kingdom is where Jerusalem was, and it's where the temple was, and those are the God's people.
Okay, so he's going to go with the south only. I think that's a reasonable summary of his logic. That he says this is a symbol of God's people, because you can trace God's people all the way through. So that's why he's focusing on you said the south only. Does he know about the north? What does he say about the north?
He said the north are already in apostasy. Right, 6 and 7, but nothing that are not less than 125.
Is he aware of 723?
I don't think he was aware of it.
Okay. Brother Robert?
I think he knew.
Yeah. He knows about 723. But he says 723 is not the correct start date. Why is it not the correct start date?
Because it's focused on God people which are southern.
Because his focus is upon God's people. And he says that the 10 tribes, who are the Samaritans, when you come to the Gospels, the New Testament, he knows they're not God's people. They worship on Mount Gerizim. They've got a false worship system. They're the Gentiles, if you like. In the time of Ezra, they're not allowed to participate in the rebuilding of the temple. So he sees them as separate and distinct after 723. So he's aware of 723, but he says, we don't want to talk about 723. We want to talk about 677. So we've got 2 Chronicles. We can mark it when Manasseh gets taken into captivity. It's the southern tribes only. Any other details, my brother? I'll go with you at the end.
the other thing that we understand about the physical is that it's based on the Leviticus 25. The context is the 7 years of that they were doing. They were doing 6 years they were to till the land, and 7 years the land was tilled. So you basically understand.
Okay. So that's how he's going to start working with the Jubilees. This is how he's going to do his time calculation. This is how he gets 25-20. So I'm asking the same question if there's anything more, but I'm going to reframe my question now. Brother Andrew, what is the motif of the 25-20? The banner, the theme that we just spoke about a few minutes ago. That's what we say. I want to know what. Sorry? Two desolating powers. Okay, so I can just see blank space. So you tell me about two desolating powers.
Well, that works with the northern, the one who are
Okay, so remember, Dempsey accurately portrays the theme of the Millerite movement. He doesn't talk about higher medicine's movement, higher medicine's theory. He's talking about the Millerite theory. And the Millerite theory is 1798 to 1844, which is 12 years before higher medicine's theory, which has got those two desolating powers. So higher medicine didn't invent that two desolating powers concept. This was a further development of the Millerite thinking already. Now I've said 12 years, I marked 12 years from 1844, but Miller understands the concept of two desolating powers long before 1844. If we're going to pick it up when he does his studies in 16 to 18, 1816 to 1818, that's a long time before 1844. So it's been decades that they've understood about two desolating powers, and they would teach this concept because it would be the proof of how you can come to the end of the world and everything's going to finish up. So I'm going to come back and ask you the same question. I've got a blank space here, and we need to find two desolating powers in this story. Higher medicine's one is one way of looking at it, but we need to understand what Miller's way of looking at it was, because Dempsey didn't invent it. He got it from Miller's writings, that this was how they did it. And the problem with it is if you go to the 1843 chart, it's not that easy to see how that works, but it is there to see. What you need is, you need an experienced teacher, a Millerite teacher, to go and show this, and he'd say, let me show you about the two desolating powers and how it works, because it's all on this chart, but there's so much information on it, he'd need to direct you of where to find it and how it operates. So, do you know about the two desolating powers in this story? Because I know you know about it in Edson's story. No. Okay, so many of you in the movement aren't.
Okay. Let's look on that chart and bring them here. So I can say that with the Miller understanding two desolating powers, but the way that we apply them with the lines from 1607 to 1844 is different. So Miller acknowledged that first desolating power is 677, and then it ended in 530, 538. And from 538 to 1798. So Miller still acknowledge that from 538 to 1798, that was about 64 passes for second distillation. And then acknowledge that from 607 to 538, that's
That's
pass.
past.
Yeah, pass.
Oh, first, sorry, first.
Yeah, and then you put, because when you look at that one, it cannot be 607 to 538, cannot give you 1260. So you take half of that part and then bring it 1798 to 1844.
So we'll do the maths as they did it. And so if you do the maths as they did it, we're going to do what my brother said. Put in 1843. Okay? So Brother Rogers?
So basically what you're saying was, but I want to add. So Miller understood the two desolating power.
Give us the maths first.
Okay. He understood it from 677 to 538 is 12-15 years.
So because people are taking notes, I just want them to finish out their notes. 12:15.
And if there is 1780, you see he marks 45 from 1780 to 43.
So I don't know if you can see that 45 there. 1798, 45, 1843.
So 45 would be the answer.
So 1215 plus 45 is 1260. So he's got his two desolating powers. So this is pagan and this is papal, and who would this be? So this is pagan as well. So I'm going to take 44 out and I'll put pagan, and I'm going to put pagan 2 and pagan 1. So he's got the paganism and he's split it into two parts. Okay, so all I want us to see from this is we should recognise that William Miller is an extremely clever man. Seriously, to be able to do that, you know, he's got some serious wisdom to be able to create this structure in this way. So we've got our structure and we've seen two desolating powers, and now we're just going to go through the logic of what William Miller thinks. Okay? Carry on.
Okay, so when you look at pagan 2, what William Miller thinks is going to apply the 1 hour of Revelation 17 to pagan 2. So the pagan 2 is the territory.
Okay, so we're going to go to Revelation 17. Someone give me the verse where it says 1 hour. Ten? 12? Okay, so Revelation 17:12, it says 1 hour with the beast. I'm going to take that out. So I'm just going to say 1 hour, and this is kings. Carry on. That's it. So, what are kings? Church or state? State. Paganism, all of this is those four kingdoms: Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, pagan Rome, all kingdoms. This is the gold, the silver, the bronze and the iron. So this is all state, and then it goes to papalism, paganism to papalism. This is the daily, and this is the abomination of desolation. And then he has to tidy some loose ends up, doesn't he? And he's got some major problems because there's huge portions of Revelation that have not been fulfilled in 1798. And so the major area that you would think about would be Revelation 17. It's the final work. He knows it's talking about the end of the world. And so what he's going to do is, he's going to say this 45 years is the final work of paganism to finish its work and bring the world to Armageddon. Because it all has to finish 1843, which then becomes 1844. Is that okay? So it's really useful to understand William Miller's thinking when he develops his 2520. It might seem quite strange, but what you can see is that Hiram Edson's 2520 is virtually identical to William Miller's. The other thing that we need to know is that when Hiram Edson says 723 and 1798, he didn't invent those. Miller already knows. Miller already knows that. And you can be sure if Miller knew about 1798 and 538, and he knows about the 1260, and he knows about 723, what could he have calculated? He could have calculated this 1260 for paganism. It was staring him in the face. It's not that this man is ignorant, it's he chooses to go in a different direction. Why did he choose to go in a different direction? Brother Robert, why did he go in a different direction? His focus is 1843, and who's telling him that's where his focus should be? The first angel. Someone tell me what page. Early Writings, page 200 and something. 229. Angels were directing his mind. Page 229. She says angels were directing his mind. Directing his mind to where? To 1843. So that's why he has to create this line this way. It wasn't a mistake. It has to be done that way. Was all this wrong? Breaking up paganism and doing it this way? Yeah, because the two themes really should be done this way, the way Hiram Edson does it. But I don't know if you've observed this, all the mistakes that the Millerites make, they all end up coming back in our line, in our history, and what? They all become present truth. So we now go into Revelation 17 and we see all the relationship between the kings and the beast and how that all works. Even though they didn't fully understand what that meant, they have no concept of United Nations, basically. It doesn't exist. We do. But everything about their understanding here is exactly going to be applied in a present truth scenario the way we do. Do we not take 1798 to 1843 and dovetail Revelation 17 in there? Isn't that what we do? Because this is 1989, and depending on what you want to make this, what do we want to make 1843? If we want to make it Sunday law, I don't want to make it close of probation, according to what we've been doing here, or here maybe. 18, close the probation, we've got it here. If we make it close the probation, that's exactly what we do in Revelation 17, isn't it? We're putting Revelation 17 in exactly the place where William Miller told us to put it. That's what I'm saying. He was a very clever man and he was led by angels. So Hiram Edson trashes his work, says, it's crazy to do that. Why would you get a pair of scissors and cut paganism and put it into two parts? You can't do that. What license do you have? And we coming now and saying, yep, William Miller knows what he's doing. It's a really good way of doing it. So I really like that. There's so much more we could say about that study if we were to look into it closely. So I wanted to put that in because people are not familiar with his logic for doing that.
think he also got encouragement from the fact that he was dividing the 25-20 to, he was minusing the 13-35, and when you minus 13-35 you get the 20-15. And I think he was getting some encouragement from the fact that you can be able to do that from that team.
Okay, so walk us through what you just said.
Saying, I'm saying if you take the 25-20 to 1843, 677 to 1843.
Okay.
Then if you minus 1335, it brings you to 548.
548?
508.
508. Okay.
508. And if you go 677 to 508, I don't know how many have done supposed to be 1,000 something. But my issue is from the 1335 and the 1260, you can already see a relationship. You can see a 45 that is there, kind of justified from the Bible. So the 1335 is giving encouragement to have the 45 towards the end.
So 1290 and 1335, I should have put it the other way, equals 45 years.
Yeah. And I don't know how he's arguing out, but if you look at the quotation where that 45 is normally argued, he has that logic in place, where he has the 1335 and all, he's making some more complex arguments there. But he has that, the 1335 and the 1290 to give him encouragement for having the 45 towards the end.
And I don't know if anybody's looked at this or understands it. In this here, explanation of the time, they've got from 1798-99 to 1844, 45 years. So they still want to retain this 45 years, even in the logic, even though they know it goes to 43 and it should be 46 years. They want to add this 1798, 1799. So let's quickly summarize. We wanted to put in place the work of Hiram Edson in 1856 because I want us to see that his further development of the 25-20, which would have created this chiasm, I think would have led them to 1863. We then saw that his information is being buried. He himself is exhibiting Laodicean qualities. He's more interested in his house and his family. And please don't misunderstand that we shouldn't be concerned about that. I don't want people to think I'm teaching some kind of fanaticism on that. I'm just seeing it as a prophetic symbol that they're worried about the cares of this life. And that to me is a symbol of Laodicea. The leaders at the Review and Herald publishing house, the magazine, they distance themselves from him. They say he's on his own. We're not interested in it. He says, if anybody's interested in this thing, I'll develop it further. The Review isn't interested. They say you speak to him directly. Obviously the interest is not enough for people to, for him to go and develop it. And we picked up that word, can't remember what the word was. Strictures, and strictures means severe criticism. So I don't know what people have got severe criticism about him, but maybe they discouraged him, maybe they wanted to bury this information. It doesn't seem to have a positive slant to it, it seems to be negative. So we saw that, all symbols of Laodicea. I'm saying this is why they're not going to come up with the date 1863. Then we looked at William Miller's 25-20, because I wanted us to just see that because it's interesting to see his logic. Not that it's particularly germane to what we're talking about, but you can see how he gets 2 1260s, it's all there. He understands about 723, he certainly understands 538, he certainly understands 1798. So he's got higher medicine's line there already. Just want us to see that. But what is really neat is he takes the last portion of the paganism bit and he's going to put Revelation 17 into there, the kings, the last part of paganism, which is exactly what we do. And we never teach. The reason why we put Revelation 17 into this history is because Miller did that. We always do it as though we invented this idea. And we don't give him the credit that's due. Maybe we should readjust the way we even approach it when we're doing it in a study to say, by the way, let's show you Millerite's thinking. His thinking was correct, no mistakes. And then he's thinking of Revelation 17 we pick up, because this becomes 1989, this becomes a close of probation, and it's all there. It has the 1 hour tucked into that. He obviously has some misunderstanding because he makes the 1 hour the whole thing, and we're going to refine that and say the 1 hour is the Sunday law history. It's not the whole period of the rise of this power or the rise of the kings. So we've done all of that. And that's it. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your goodness. Help us to continue to explore your past dealings with your people so that we might have a firm confidence that as you have led your people in the past, you're leading this movement now. Lord, there are so many voices that would disturb us, so many voices that would show us that, or try to tell us that we are headed in the wrong direction, that we're entering into fanaticism. Please continue to guide and direct us and give us individually a faith and assurance that you are with us. We ask and pray these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.